Hello, and welcome to the Cantina Chatter Podcast. My name is Victoria, and I will be your guide on this adventure through toys, collectibles, and film discussion. Alright, so we're doing something a little bit different here. New York Comic Con 2018 has just wrapped up, and with it came some very intriguing announcements and reveals from Hasbro for their Star Wars line. Not only do they have new releases coming for the Vintage Collection and the Black Series, but you've also got a dedicated 3 3/4 inch scale line for the new Disney Channel animated series, Star Wars Resistance. As you all know, the way these episodes usually work is that I'll schedule a guest, often one who's pretty well known in the collecting world, to come on and talk to me about what stood out to them and what we are looking forward to most. This time, I thought I would open it up to everyone. So I jumped on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and said, hey, I'm looking for 4 Star Wars collectors to call in and talk a little Hasbro Star Wars with me. In this episode, I am joined by you, the listeners, and we will be discussing Hasbro Star Wars reveals from New York Comic Con 2018. Hello, thank you for calling Cantina Chatter.
Hi, Victoria. How are you?
Hi, who's calling?
My name is Maurice. I'm the owner and operator of the Star Wars fan-based page on Instagram with over 45,000 followers.
Oh, the Star Wars fan-based page. I love that page.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for doing the great work you do, constantly keeping people updated of the latest news. It's awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Love having you on the show. New York Comic Con just came and went. Lots of new reveals for Star Wars Resistance, Star Wars The Vintage Collection, Star Wars The Black Series. Tell me a little bit about what stood out the most to you.
Well, to be honest, it was definitely the Black Series. From the past 2 years with San Diego Comic Con, New York Comic Con, the convention in Mexico, we saw amazing Black Series reveals and Vintage Collection reveals. You know, I saw the Rocket Trooper that they just announced and Chopper and Ezra, but the Rocket Trooper really stood out to me because I'm a huge Stormtrooper fan. And I was like, wow, this figure is amazing, you know, with the new face print technology that they're doing in the 6-inch line. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you know, when I saw that, I wasn't quite sure what that was from. It looked like a trooper, obviously, but I didn't recognize it right away as being from Rebels. Once I found that out, I was like, oh, cool, more Rebels figures.
You know, I actually asked Steve Evans about this figure. I asked him way back when that episode aired. I think it was the Ghost of Geonosis Part 2, when we were first introduced the Rocket Trooper in Rebels. And I asked Steve Evans, do you think you will actually make a Rocket Trooper? And he goes to me, anything is possible. Here we are 2 years later, and we have a 6-inch line, a 6-inch figure of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, Steve's awesome. I love that he interacts with the fans, and you know, sometimes he's coy about stuff that's in development, but you know, it's always a surprise when it finally gets announced.
Of course.
Yeah, so there's a lot coming up for Black Series. The Rocket Trooper definitely stands out. They're also doing the Dr. Aphra 3-pack, or not 3-pack, but 6-inch figures of those 3 characters, 000, BT-1. Are those appealing to you as well?
You know, as an Imperial fan and a Stormtrooper fan and an Empire fan, yes, these are going to appeal to me. I love the comics, the Darth Vader comics, and the standalone Dr. Aphra comics. I'm a huge fan of BT-1. He's like a psychopath murder droid, and I don't know why. I'm not even into this stuff, but I feel like I have a connection with this droid for some reason.
Yeah, it's a really cool design. I mean, it's definitely unlike any other astromech droid we've seen in any of, or protocol droid that we've seen in any of the Star Wars saga.
It is definitely a unique one. I do believe it is a repaint of the R5D4 figure. It does seem to have. They do share a body mold. I think the head has been redone. And with the rocket launcher and the laser cannon on the sides of it, I think that's new stuff too.
Yeah, definitely looks pretty heavily retooled. For the other 6-inch figures, it looks like there's a Luke Stormtrooper coming. You mentioned Empire. Is that something you would also get, even though it's not necessarily a Stormtrooper, but Luke as a Stormtrooper?
Oh, of course. We're talking about Luke Skywalker in one of his most iconic outfits in the saga. You know, we've had in multiple lines, all the way from the vintage Star Wars line to the Saga collection to Vintage collection to the Black Series, that one that was released in 2014. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to appeal to me.
Awesome. And two of the other ones that really stood out to me were the first ones actually announced last week. And there was General Grievous, who's going to be in the main line for $29.99. And then next fall, we have the Tartakovsky Obi-Wan Kenobi from the original Clone Wars microseries. I thought those were pretty awesome.
Those are indeed very, very great. You know, we've been wanting prequel figures for a very long time now, so it's finally nice that we actually get to see them now. Especially the General Grievous. He's been a fan favorite, you know, from the 2003 Clone Wars series. He's been a fan favorite, and to finally have him in the 6-inch scale, it's truly remarkable. And they really did a really, really nice job, and I can't wait to pick him up.
They did. I'm still not completely sold with the cape. I think that there's something there with the design that's maybe slightly off, but I mean, it's still early. What we saw is a prototype. Perhaps by the time the actual figure comes around, they'll still make a few tweaks.
My thoughts exactly. We've seen this time and time again, where they show off the prototype at the conventions, but then they do some slight modifications between the prototype and the final release. So hopefully, I'm hoping they get fan feedback and they correct the issue with the cape.
Absolutely. So in addition to 6-inch, there was quite a bit shown for the vintage collection in terms of some exclusives, some new releases, and repacks coming next year. Are you at all collecting the 3 3/4 inch line as well?
Absolutely, I'm a huge supporter of the 3 3/4 inch vintage collection line.
Nice.
When it was re-announced back in spring in 2017, I was literally all over it. I was so excited because I thought that line died in 2013. I said, "There's no way they're bringing it back. They have no interest in bringing it back." But my problem is the amount of exclusives they are doing within the Black Series and Vintage Collection line. I think that's something that they need to work on, because I personally, I had to buy the supposedly, I'm saying supposedly because this figure hasn't showed up yet in any U.S. retail store, in any U.S. Walmart store, I'm going to say, which is the Minban Stormtrooper Vintage Collection. I had to buy mine overseas for $32, and I don't think anyone should do that.
Yeah. I think I've seen a couple store reports that some people are finding here and there, but I mean, it's Walmart. It's going to be very hit and miss whether or not you actually find it.
Exactly, and especially for a person like me who lives in the Brooklyn and Manhattan area, we have no Walmart. So even if there's a Walmart exclusive when it comes to Black Series or 3 3/4, I have to depend on people from out of state or somewhere in the expanding regions of the New York area.
Yeah, totally hear you there. And not to mention the fact that Walmart, whether or not they put it online, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So sometimes it's just better to be safe than sorry, even if you do have to pay a couple dollars more.
Exactly, and especially in terms with the reveals, I have a few issues with them. You know, we're seeing a lot of repacks, but I don't know how quite to say it. I happen to love the design of the 41st Elite Corps Clone Trooper, and I'm glad that they're repacking it, because that original figure, when it was released, I think you would know, when they first released that figure, they had numerous paint errors, and then they re-released a European version, but that was only available in Europe. So I'm glad it's finally making a return in the Vintage Collection line for a chance for U.S. collectors to finally get their hands on them.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really disappointing when that, I didn't even buy it. I saw it, I think, at Disney Store, and I was really disappointed. I didn't even pick it up. It just looked terrible.
And that's why me, you, and army builders everywhere are going to be so excited for this figure. And I can't wait for the Darth Revan that's coming out in July. We have the modified Stormtrooper, which hopefully will be the definitive Stormtrooper, because we all want that.
Yeah.
We have Crate Luke, which I happen to love. I wasn't the biggest supporter of The Last Jedi, but there's no denying that this figure looks absolutely amazing.
It does. It absolutely does. I'm really excited about Crate Luke. Yeah, and it looks like there's some pretty good concentration as well on the sail barge. Obviously, the barge and all that. The barge is coming in February. So they are releasing quite a few different figures to tie in with that. Did you back the barge? Is that something you're going to be interested in getting as well, those vintage figures?
How can I forget? It's 12:30 here, so forgive me. This is one of the biggest things in Star Wars collecting history. The sail barge.
Yeah.
People have been wanting this from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s. This is massive. This is history in the making right over here.
Absolutely. And done by the legendary Mark Boudreau, who's been there since the Kenner days, has designed every Millennium Falcon, and basically he's a legend in terms of toy making.
To be honest, I think he was the perfect man for the job. He has so much experience, and he said, I just can't wait till I get it, to be honest. I'm really, really excited. Especially with all these figures coming out and figures from years past. It's going to be an amazing thing. I'm really happy they're re-releasing the Gamorrean Guard in the vintage collection, so you can add a little bit to the sail barge.
Definitely. So do the 5 POA figures for Resistance interest you in any respect?
So in regard to 5 POA, when it first started to come mainstream, I was totally against it. But I came to the realization saying, you know what, this is the way Star Wars figures are going to be now. I have no choice but to accept them. But you know what, the first wave of 5 POA figures way back in 2013 were just plain horrible. I think the only decent figure they had was the Stormtrooper. Everything else was just so bad. But you know what? Let's give them credit where it's due. They started improving in the Force Awakens line. They did a fantastic job with the Rogue One Stormtrooper. And I think at this point, between the Solo and Last Jedi line, they really perfected the art of doing amazing sculpts with 5 POA.
Totally. Yeah, and those early figures were something else. I mean, I feel like for the most part, the sculpts were there, but the paint apps on them were just awful.
God, I remember picking up the Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi Mandalore 2-pack, and that Obi-Wan face was horrid.
Yeah, in Maul 2, like he looked...
Oh my God.
He had like a pink lightsaber too. I don't know what happened there.
And in regards to Resistance, I did indeed watch the first 3 episodes, and to be honest, yes, it's aimed at a very, very, very young audience. But I feel like it's something a select group of people will like. Not everyone will like it, but I happen to love it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a great storyline. We saw some Easter eggs, and you know what? To be honest, I was originally gonna just pick up the Stormtroopers and the First Order figures. But now that I've seen some of the characters, the main characters like Yeager or Kaz, I think I might pick those up too, because it's only been 3 episodes and I kind of like Yeager already.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't seen the episodes yet. I intend to do that within the coming days, but the figures are looking nice. But it's really nice to see that Hasbro is making some effort to give it a proper toy line, because they never did that with Rebels for the 3 3/4 inch figures.
Exactly. I was just going to tell you that was one of their biggest errors in the Rebels line. They just killed it all after 2014, excuse me. And then they ended up only releasing like 2 figures from Rebels in 2016, and then a couple of repacks like Ezra's speeder bike and the AT-DT pilot with speeder bike. It was unfortunate because I happen to love the Rebels series. I would have loved an updated Season 3 Kanan and Ezra, an updated Hera, AP5, and Chopper 2-pack.
Oh man, I really wanted AP5.
Oh my God, I think he's the most like, I don't say he's like AP5 Savage Droid. I was rewatching the episodes today, and I think it was the one with the Pro Droid that landed on Adelon, and he tells Zeb, do you know how to count? If you can't, I can teach you. So I just started laughing at that because I don't know, he's just so savage. I love it.
I always remember the scene where he's in space floating around and there's the little animals that are circling him.
Yeah, oh
Hilarious.
My God. I love his scenes, to be honest. He's just so sassy. That's the word, sassy. He's a very, very sassy droid. I love it.
I love AP5. Well, hey, Maurice, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for calling into the show. And here's looking forward to all these new releases that'll be coming out in the next several months.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
All right, take care.
You too. Thank you.
Hello, Cantina Chatter.
Hi, it's Ben. How you doing?
Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Awesome. Thank you for asking. So, New York Comic Con just came and went. Star Wars, there's a lot coming out for Resistance, for Vintage Collection, Black Series. A lot of cool looking stuff. What stood out the most to you?
The 2 things that stood out the most to me were the new Resistance line for the 3 3/4 figures. Obviously, at New York Comic Con, we hadn't seen the show yet, and the colors just kind of had a bright, fun feeling to them. I know that they are the limited articulation, but they still looked like they'd be a lot of fun to collect. And then the Black Series, especially the 6-inch Afra 000 and BT1, those were really the highlight for me.
Yeah. Are you a fan of the Afra comics and the Darth Vader comics?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They've the team behind at Marvel has really done a great job of introducing Afra through the Darth Vader comics, but then carrying on that character to a whole new storyline on the solo title for Afra.
Absolutely. I haven't been all that into the comics myself, and that's just kind of something that's always been the case. I've never been a huge comic person, but I did try and get all like the #1 issues when Marvel started doing the comics. So I have like the first Afra issue, the first Darth Vader, and so forth. But yeah, I mean, these figures look great, and they just actually released these in Vintage Collection through San Diego Comic-Con, so it's particularly awesome that they're doing 6-inch versions too.
Yeah, I completely agree, and the additions that they've given to the 6-inch figures, in my mind, wow, I've got since '95, since Power of the Force 2 came out, I've got this collection of 3 3/4 figures. But the 6-inch figures just blow away what they put out for the vintage collection for Afra and her droids.
Yeah, looking really good. And of course, at the larger scale, that enables them to incorporate a little bit more detail, a little bit more work in the sculpt. So I agree. They look incredible. Yeah, so let's see. What else did they release for 6-inch? They announced the Rocket Trooper. Is that something that you're looking forward to as well?
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed that it was announced as another exclusive. It would be nice to see as much come out in the main line as possible, but I'm really a big fan of the Rebels figures in the 6-inch Black Series, and to have a trooper from the Geonosis episodes with Saw is pretty cool to see them kind of digging deep, and hopefully that just means that we're that much closer to completing the Crew of the Ghost.
Absolutely. When I first saw this, I didn't even really recognize it as a Rebels character. But then when they said, yeah, this is from Rebels, I'm like, okay, cool. More characters from Rebels in the 6-inch scale. I'm completely down with that.
Yeah. They've really done a great job in kind of giving them that realistic sculpt coming from that animated source. And I've really been on the same page with what they've put out. It's really been fun to collect.
Nice. And it looks like there's Luke in Stormtrooper disguise. Of course, back in, I think it was 2014, they released both Luke and Han in Stormtrooper disguise. But this Luke is different in that, of course, it's dirtied up. It has the slicked back wet hair when he had his little encounter with the Dianoga. I think that's pretty cool. And of course, it's going to have the photoreal print tech on its face. So this is going to be a superior release, I think, to the original.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I hope that they are able to sneak a Han in there with maybe an updated photoreal face as well.
Yeah, that would be really cool because, photoreal, when you compare the newer figures with any of these previous versions of these characters, it's like night and day, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They've really taken the lead. I think Bandai and SH Figuarts really showed Hasbro where the bar was, and Hasbro's done a great job of stepping up their game, I think.
Absolutely. I kind of feel like Hasbro kind of saw what Figuarts was doing, what Mafex was doing, with their own versions of photoreal, and they kind of had to step up their game because, like I said, it's night and day when you compare the newer figures to the old ones. And I'm just really eager to see what else they're going to do in this line for reissuing or repainting older figures. So for 6-inch, there's also the Obi-Wan for the Tartakovsky series. Tongue-tied. That was a huge surprise to me because I remember when that series came out, and I was very fond of it, and I really enjoyed it. It was really the first thing that we had as far as Star Wars animation goes during the prequel era, and it kind of helped tie the gap between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So to see them go back that far, and even though it's not canon, actually make a figure from that era, I think is pretty exciting.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that scares me with Grievous and the Obi-Wan are I'm not a big fan of soft goods in this scale, and I would have loved to see a sculpted cape on both those figures.
Yeah. I guess whatever works. In some cases, I feel like soft goods can be superior, but in some cases, sculpted plastic can work better. I think it kind of depends on the figures. For Grievous, I feel like maybe there's something that's not 100% quite yet. Maybe there's still time to tweak it, but with all the articulation both of these figures have, I can completely understand why they opted to go with soft goods instead of plastic.
Oh, absolutely.
Cool. So what did you think about the vintage collection releases?
For somebody that's been collecting from what my beginning was in the modern era, it's just disappointing just to see the same figure on a brand new card back. So with Crate Luke, absolutely, I love that figure with the Assault Tank Commander. That's a figure that we got in the 6-inch line, and now they're bringing to the 3 3/4, or it's a figure that you could make in the 6-inch line if you swapped a couple heads around. But those are fun to see coming out. But when they're showing the repacks and the slightly tweaked Han and Stormtrooper gear, it doesn't have the same level of excitement for me as the 6-inch line or brand new stuff like the 3 3/4 Resistance.
Yeah, and you know what? I can kind of hear you on that. I know that. Me personally, I feel like in some respects I am pretty much a purist for the 3 3/4 inch because that's the classic scale. That's kind of what I've been collecting since, like you, the Power of the Force days. But at the same time, I buy all the 6-inch. I have every single Black Series figure, and I think what's exciting about Black Series is that it's not at that point where it's saturated to the same level as 3 3/4 inch. There's just so many characters that they haven't done that they could do. And I think it's particularly exciting with 6-inch when you don't know what they're going to announce. And then, like I said, it's something random like the Tartakovsky Obi-Wan or General Grievous or, something new, something fresh. And I think that's probably one of the best things about 6-inch is that every release does feel brand new. And that's always really exciting.
Yeah. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Even when you have slightly updated figures, it's just not as exciting as getting a brand new Lando and Skiff Guard disguise or a General Grievous where we've had I think 7 or 8 General Grievous in 3 3/4 already.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like with 3 3/4, even the modern line, it's been around since 1995, which I don't know if you could even call that modern at this point in time. That was over 20 years ago. But in that time, they've redone so many of the same characters, when they've updated sculpts and they've improved articulation and so forth. So it's nice to see updates. But again, like you mentioned, 6-inch, most of those releases are fresh, they're brand new. So there's a lot of appeal in that too.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Ben, it's been awesome having you on the show. Thank you so much for calling in.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you again.
Absolutely. Take care.
Have a good one.
Thank you for calling Cantina Chatter.
This is Zach from the 101 Jenko on YouTube.
Zach, hey, how are you doing?
I'm alright, how about you?
Doing well. Hey, I'm a fan of your channel.
Well, thank you. I'm a big fan of yours, too.
I appreciate that. I know that you've been watching the videos since the beginning, practically, so I appreciate your support.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, New York Comic Con wrapped up on Sunday, and lots of new reveals for the Star Wars line from Hasbro. Not just in terms of like the action figures, but also the role play. They announced some new Force Effects lightsabers. And have you ever been into the Force Effects lightsabers or any of the role play?
No, not really. I'm mainly the action figures do it for me. Probably when I was younger, but not so much anymore. I'm more in it for the collectibles and stuff like that, like the figures and stuff. So.
Right on. So, yeah, there was a lot announced for both scales, 3 3/4 inch and 6-inch. So, are you these days more into the 3 3/4 inch line or the 6-inch?
I do both. I am mainly the 3-inch, but I do the 6-inch. I'm very limited on the 6-inch figures, but if a favorite character of mine comes out, I'll definitely get it. Even with the 3-inch figures, I've been very limited because I also do collect other lines and stuff. Since I've been a Star Wars collector, which has been many, many years now, it's pretty much been the 3-inch line. When the 6-inch line came out, I actually didn't do it as much because I didn't really want to invest in a whole new collection, you know what I mean? Because I was so invested in the 3-inch figures. But now I have a pretty good collection of 6-inch figures.
Nice. And, you're one of the few people I know that actually has the Clone Wars Darth Sidious.
I am. I actually had 2 figures. I had one carded, but unfortunately I had to sell that one just for money problems. But I still have my loose one, so that's it. Yeah, it was one of my grails. I got the first one in a trade, and the carded one was given to me by someone. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I hope one day I'll be able to track one of those down. They're so expensive on eBay.
It's a nice figure, but not worth the price tag. But Sidious is one of my favorite characters, so I had to.
Oh yeah, I mean the Emperor.
Definitely. So yeah, that's my favorite characters. I try to get all the figures of, but some characters like Sidious and Leia are hard to track down because they have so many figures of.
Right. So for Vintage Collection, they showed quite a few things. The Sail Barge is coming out next year, so a lot of the new Vintage Collection figures are kind of geared around that theme. And there's some other releases that they showed that are kind of exclusive. Some of them, I think, like the Rey from Last Jedi, she's going to Entertainment Earth, and then figures like the Stormtrooper 41st Elite Stormtrooper Clone Trooper rather, are going to Target. Which of those releases stands out the most to you?
Rey was one of my new favorite characters out of the sequel trilogy. I absolutely loved her. I started buying Rey stuff before I even saw Force Awakens. Usually the female leads are always my favorite characters, so I knew I was going to like her, which I did. I think she's a fantastic character. Nice. And I know the Vintage Collection, I thought the Vintage Collection Rey, the Resistance one, was going to be exclusive to Walmart. Is that still going to happen, or did they switch it?
The Rey figure?
Yeah, the 3-inch version.
Yes. She was supposed to be originally going to Walmart. I think they announced her last spring. And she never actually hit. I know that. I think even Hasbro had said that she did, but there weren't any store reports, and I don't think that she actually made it into the Walmart system. So
because I've been seeing lately, like, she's been up for pre-order, but sometimes that just, I don't know what sites to believe, and I usually wait until I can find them in stores. I like hunting for my figures, unless I absolutely can't find them. Like, I just found the Best Bin Leia today. She just hit, and but if I absolutely can't find them, that's when I use eBay or Amazon. But yeah, I'm a Rey collector, so she's definitely one I was excited for that was announced. With the Vintage Collection, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was a little disappointed because with the Rey, the first Rey that was released on the Vintage Collection, it was a simple repack. So I already had that figure, and I'm more of a loose collector. The only character I get carded is Padme, since she's my favorite. So I actually did not pick up the Vintage Collection Rey just because I'm limited these days. So the new one looks like a new sculpt, so I'm very excited for that one because it does look. It's probably the 6-inch version, just scaled down.
Yeah, I pre-ordered 2 of them. I don't usually collect carded figures. I open my figures. But for that one, I think there's something pretty cool about seeing Rey on a vintage card. So for that one, I actually pre-ordered 2 of them.
My Target has. They're actually Jen, Rey, Snoke. They're all peg warmers here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they are out there. I don't think it's doing too well. I remember when Snoke, because he was another one of my favorite characters, came out. I've been collecting all the Snoke figures that have been coming out. So I got one of him. I think if he goes on clearance, I'll end up getting a carded one.
Very cool. So for the 6-inch, you mentioned that you're not quite as much into 6-inch, but you've kind of been exploring it a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah. Like I said, I have pretty much all of the Leia so far. The only one I don't have is the original release from the A New Hope line. The one that I watched your review. It didn't have the best face sculpt.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
I waited until I got the 40th anniversary one, and I originally was going to go back and get that Leia and keep her carded, but I saw it at a collector's store, and I'm like, do I really need to right now? So I didn't go back. So I have the better version one, and then I have the Bausch Leia, the Slay one, and then the General one, and then, of course, the new Bespin Escape one.
Nice.
I have the Snoke, of course. I have the couple Rays. I have the Sith Emperor. And I have Tarkin. I really wanted Tarkin. He's actually one of my favorite characters.
Tarkin's awesome. Oh, same here. I love Tarkin.
That scene with Leia, Vader, and him is actually probably my favorite scene in A New Hope.
Nice.
And I actually found him on clearance at Walmart, and so I jumped on him right away.
Nice. So the ones that they announced from New York Comic Con, which 6-inch figures stood out to you the most?
I see here that it looks like another Anakin is coming out. I don't know if that's a repack or if it's going to be a new sculpt, but I missed out on the original release.
Oh, yeah, the archive line. That's actually a good point. So, yes, the archive line is going to be older figures from earlier on in Black Series that have gotten pretty expensive on the secondary market. And for the ones that have the human or alien head sculpts, they're actually updating the face paint so that they have photoreal, so that they're a little bit more in line with the newer releases. Which
I love, Yak Face announced that they're going to actually probably be coming out with the Padme next year. And it's probably going to be a Arena one. Not surprised there, but
yeah.
Which I was fine with waiting because they're doing the face scan and stuff, which looks great on the new Rey, the Island Journey Rey. Which
absolutely.
Which is probably my new favorite Rey. And
it's an incredible figure.
So I think that if they do come out with a Amidala, she'll have that, which is fine.
Absolutely.
So definitely I do like Anakin. The Yoda looks really nice too. I missed out on him. Yoda is actually one of my favorite Jedi. I wouldn't mind getting him.
Yeah, and Yoda looks so much better too than the original release.
Yeah, and to be honest, when I need to see them, your reviews, if you have a review of something, I usually go to you first because you just have really detailed reviews.
Oh, thank you.
And
appreciate
you really dive into. I think General Grievous is going to be nice too because he'll probably be pretty big.
Oh yeah.
And I wouldn't mind having him as well. I'm not the biggest General Grievous fan, but the figure does look really nice.
Awesome. Well, hey Zach, it's been wonderful having you call in. Thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you so much. I've been wanting to get on one of your podcasts for a while now, so it's been really amazing that I was able to. And I love your channel. Keep up the great work. I go off topic. I just got into Jurassic Park, so I've been going back and watching those videos on your channel too.
Oh,
so
nice.
They've been really helpful. So
that's awesome.
Just keep up the great work. You are a huge inspiration to me and my channel, and I just love your videos. And you are just an amazing person and YouTuber.
Thank you, Zach.
Support you and stuff like that. I don't always comment, but I do watch.
Thank you, Zach. Okay. Really appreciate your support. It means a lot.
Thank you. You have a good rest of your night.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hello. Thank you for calling Cantina Chatter.
Hi, this is Aaron from Toy Shelf Review.
Aaron, hey. How are you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for calling in. It's great to have you on the show again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So yeah, New York Comic Con, lots of new reveals from Hasbro Star Wars, Black Series. We have Vintage Collection. There's Resistance. There's some new Force FX lightsabers. Tell me a little bit about what stands out to you the most of the things that were revealed.
I think what stands out most for me is going to be that Clone Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. I really like the sculpting that I saw both within the face, the paint application, and just the overall design that we got for the uniform.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the big standouts.
Yeah, no question. That was a total surprise. I never would have expected that one to be coming.
No, I certainly wasn't either.
And it looks incredible.
Yeah. The Luke Skywalker, the wet hair look, that was another standout one.
Yeah, Luke looks cool, and I'm glad that we're getting another chance at Luke in Stormtrooper gear with the photoreal tech because they've pretty much done nearly every version of Luke. They haven't done ceremonial Luke, but this is the first one that's going to have photoreal facial print tech, so really looking forward to that.
Yes, indeed. And then I guess for the vintage collection, Crate Luke Skywalker was a nice reveal. along with the Stormtrooper Han Solo.
Yeah. I do hope that they're going to also do Luke in the 3 3/4 inch scale as well, because we haven't had Han in Stormtrooper gear on a vintage card back, and I don't think we've had Luke either. So it'd be really nice if they could do both of them and, knock two birds out with one stone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. So what do you think about the fact that some of these vintage collection figures are going to be exclusives to various retailers?
As long as we can find them, I'm okay with that. Sometimes that's just the hard part is, you expect to find these. Walmart in particular seems to be very difficult. So Target, not so bad. They eventually at least show up, with a Gamorrean Guard, Moloch, at least the Guard in particular. I think that still took people a couple weeks, maybe a few weeks to even find. But I think eventually, at least with Target, you eventually get those.
Yeah, I completely agree. It all boils down to availability and how easy they are to get. Walmart hasn't been the best when it comes to handling a lot of these Star Wars exclusives. And I'm not really sure what went down. I know they were supposed to get the Island Journey Rey, and that never really panned out. So luckily Entertainment Earth is picking it up, and that's kind of a sure bet. But some of these other ones, like you mentioned, like the Han Stormtrooper, that's going to be a Target exclusive. Hopefully those aren't too difficult to track down. I imagine it probably won't be too bad, but I wouldn't doubt it either if there's a few army builders that are still in the collecting realm of Star Wars that might pick up, 5 of them when they see them on shelf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so what else stood out to you as far as vintage collection goes?
Well, it's great that we're going to get some more sail barge figures, or, figures that'll fit in with that scene. I don't know. I kind of don't recall off the top of my head if the Gamorrean Guard was on the sail barge, but it's even nice to see that figure get in another go around because it was pretty popular when it was originally released on the vintage collection line. So overall, it's nice to see some of those figures making a comeback to populate that barge.
Definitely.
The Dr. Aphra set looks pretty. I shouldn't say set. I believe those are going to be. No, those were 6-inch figures.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, we just got him as 3 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about these barge figures because on the secondary market, they're just really expensive. You look at some of these skiff guards and some of these aliens, and there's a couple of them that are going for around $100. I don't know all of the skiff guards by name, but the one from Legacy Collection, the Gunner, that one's going for around $100. And from the Black Series 3 3/4 inch, the skiff guard that has like the gray suit and the black helmet, that one's going for around $100 as well. It's just insane.
Yeah, those prices really jumped up once that sail barge went through.
They did. Luckily, I'm pretty well covered in that respect. I think there was one I did not have, and I finally got it recently. I think it was the Weequay Skiff Master. For whatever reason, I just didn't have it in my collection. So I picked that one up. The prices on that one had gone up, but they'd kind of started dropping. So I grabbed that one. And yes, I believe the Gamorrean Guards were on the skiff. I kind of remember Luke with the lightsaber kind of disarming one or something. But yeah, that'll be great.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I think that is some sort of exclusive. I don't know the details of it yet, but I think it's some sort of an online shared exclusive or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it'll definitely be nice to get more Gamorrean Guards in that scale. And let's see, what else do they have? Crate Luke, I think, looks pretty nice.
Yes, he does. That looks like a very nice figure.
Yeah, it's I know a lot of fans aren't, or longtime collectors, I should say, aren't 100% on board with The Last Jedi, but I think this is one that most people can agree on. It is one that everybody was kind of asking for, and it's really nice to see that they're giving it to us.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly seems like it was a pretty requested figure to, or at least on everyone's wish list to see eventually released.
Absolutely. Now for, let's see, there's Resistance, and it's pretty cool, I think, that they're giving that a dedicated line of 3 3/4 inch figures, which Rebels didn't get. Clone Wars did several years back. But what do you think of the Resistance announcements that were made at New York Comic Con?
I'm glad to see that they're going to support the show with figures. I hope that it continues more beyond a few waves. With Rebels, it was really slim pickings. And, of course, Clone Wars got a very large support from Hasbro. So I hope they carry on with Resistance. Now that the show is launched, I wish the figures would be on the shelves. It seems odd that I guess I missed when these will be released.
I think they said early or next year. I want to say February.
Wow, that seems like a ways away for that.
It does, doesn't it?
So, but the figures at least look nice. I can't help. I kind of wanted to look closer. I don't remember the guy's name. Kaz, I think, the main character. His figure looks an awful lot like Ezra.
It does.
And I wanted to look closer, and I just haven't looked yet. It almost looks like it's just a green body instead of an orange suit. So, but it's nice to see that they're releasing some figures, like I said, to support the show.
Definitely. I just hope that the show's still on the air at that point.
I hope so too. I'm almost through the first episode, and I gotta say I'm liking it so far.
Nice. I still haven't watched any of them. I haven't had time, but I definitely intend to do that in the coming days.
It's worth a watch. It's fun. There's a mix of some prequel era things showing up, and then certainly through the sequel trilogy as well. So
nice.
Kind of some fun Easter eggs to see.
Nice. And I think you backed the barge. Is that correct?
I did, yes.
Sweet. I still don't know where I'm going to put it. I'm trying to figure that out.
I'm going to be building a shelf. I was hoping to do that this summer, but I haven't yet. So if I don't get that done, I also won't have a spot to put it.
Yeah, I'd have to give it probably one of my top shelves, I suppose, where I have like a little indoor diorama going on. I guess that's the only place it would fit, but then I don't know where I would put that stuff, so I'm in the same situation.
I got the clearance from my wife to cover the fireplace that we don't use in our basement, so
there you go.
Got some little bit of work to do, but I got a spot picked out.
Awesome. Are you at all into the role play, like the Force Effects lightsabers or the helmets?
I haven't been for a long time. I have the effect sabers from Master Replicas, and when they started releasing them as part of the Black Series, was it originally part of Black Series line? I think when it came out after Master Replicas,
yeah,
Hasbro picked it up.
Right, they picked it up and they started reissuing the Master Replicas, and then they started doing like the removable blades, and then they put it on ice for a few years. Then when Black Series came back, they started doing them again.
So yeah, those I haven't picked up. I kind of just have to pick and choose, I suppose, at this point. And since I have so many FX sabers already, I haven't picked those up. I've been tempted on the Darth Vader helmet, just haven't pulled the trigger on that one yet.
Yeah, that's tempting. For the FX sabers, I too was heavily into Master Replicas when they were doing it. I think I had pretty much the whole line, but I had some issues with them kind of deteriorating in some respects after they stayed in the box for years, and I didn't look at them like plastics getting really sticky and issues with some of the electronics. But I ended up selling most of them, and as Hasbro has been reissuing them, I've been picking a few up here and there. And the Mace Windu especially is the one that really has my attention, because when Master Replicas did it, they didn't have at the time, believe it or not, they didn't have purple LEDs. They just weren't, they hadn't been, I guess, created yet. So what they did is they took the blue LEDs, like from the Luke or the Anakin lightsabers, and they used a red diffuser to kind of give it that purpley glow. And I just confirmed with Steve Evans that they're actually, for the new Mace Windu, it is going to have true purple LEDs. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, that's nice. And plus, they've come a long ways as far as like the light up feature, the way the blade lights up and stuff, from when Master Replicas released it, even early on in their line, just like this weird filament inside and stuff. It's just, I will say that they've started to look a lot better than when they were initially released, but gosh, that was
a long time
16 years ago or something.
Gosh darn, it's hard to believe that. Crazy.
Still feels like yesterday.
I know, doesn't it? Revenge of the Sith. I remember I was really into that era. And yeah, the helmets, you mentioned the Darth Vader. I haven't picked that up myself, but I've noticed that with like some of the older ones, like the Kylo Ren helmet's going for like $200 on eBay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm kind of regretting not having picked that one up.
Yeah, I skipped all of those. Just lack of space and time to start picking and choosing a little bit as far as how far those lines expand out.
Absolutely. And then when you're like me and you start getting into like the Jurassic and some of these other lines, it's just, yeah, you kind of got to prioritize. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Anything else stand out to you from New York Comic Con?
That's pretty much it. Aside from the excitement of seeing Entertainment Earth, picking up that Island Journey Ray, it's been a lot of looking to see if that was ever showing up at Walmart or not.
Yeah.
And so I jumped on that pretty quick.
Oh, same here. I don't usually. I know you collect. You buy like one card and then another to open. I've mostly always been I open everything practically. I very seldom collect things to keep carded, but I don't know. There's something kind of cool about Ray on a vintage card. So for that one, I did pre-order 2 of them.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, hey, Aaron, it's been a blast having you. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Cantina Chatter, with whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
Hello, this is Dan Curto calling.
Mr. Curto, welcome back. Thank you for calling in.
No problem at all. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, yeah, New York Comic Con. What did you think?
This was probably one of the better New York Comic Cons as far as reveals that's I've seen for a few years.
Yeah, there was a good little bit there for vintage, a little bit for Black Series, and the 5 POA, I guess not really anything except for Resistance. Looks like they're doing a whole line for that. So tell me, what stood out to you the most out of those figures that were announced?
I kind of expect the 5 POA for the animated series, and I think the look of those figures fits in perfectly with the show. So I don't mind that so much.
Absolutely. I got to agree with that. They're very interesting designs. They're very colorful. They're very vibrant. And I completely agree. They look like they'll suit the animation style very well.
Yeah, I hope I'm sure that they will. We just haven't seen them yet. I hope that they add a few vehicles to the line because I think that'll really spice things up a bit.
Absolutely. Vehicles are definitely an essential. Even if it's just 1, maybe 2 vehicles, you kind of figure they got to add something in there along those lines. Now, my biggest concern is that the series just came out and these toys aren't coming out until next year. So I wonder what effect that's going to have on, whether the show is still going by that point or how popular the toys are.
Yeah. Now, have you seen any of the episodes?
I haven't gotten a chance to see them quite yet.
Yeah, neither have I. They don't play in my area, which is rather annoying. I dig this whole streaming thing that everybody's getting into these days, but if you're not able to stream it, then it really kind of sucks.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't know anything about these characters from the cartoon show, but I kind of like the look of it. It's very kid-focused, so I'm obviously not the target audience anymore for this particular series, but that's okay. I can still appreciate it.
Absolutely. I do intend on watching it. For the figures, I guess I got to see them in person. I'll probably pick them up. Who am I kidding?
And I don't remember, did they show any of the packaging? So I don't know what that's going to look like.
No, they didn't, but I imagine that it's going to have its own aesthetic since it's going to be its own self-contained line from the sounds of it.
Still, very cool.
Yeah, so for vintage, it looks like there's a couple things that we already knew were coming. A few repacks. It looks like there's a few new or newish figures. What about vintage collection stands out to you the most? What are you most excited about?
Well, for the vintage collection, from a nostalgic, historical point of view, I'm sort of excited to see the Han Solo and Stormtrooper outfit come out because that never came out in the Kenner line and was actually the first Power of the Force 2 figure to come out back in the 90s, but you could only get it through, of all things, a offer on the back of Fruit Loops cereal.
Yeah, I remember that. And then they did Frito-Lay a couple years later, didn't they, for the Spirit of Obi-Wan?
The Spirit of Obi-Wan, yes. But I mean, that Han Solo and Stormtrooper is sort of like a nice nod. I know a lot of people have like, well, we already have that. But that original figure came out almost 10 years ago.
Huh.
So you think of it that way, a lot of newer collectors are like, well, I never had a chance to get this figure.
Right.
So kind of cool that they're coming out, and from, like I said, from an old school point of view, I kind of dig that that's a good repack. I don't know if it'll be a bestseller, but I like the fact that they're doing it. And then the other repack that they announced was the Clone Trooper, which they that was released in the Black Series, but they had messed it up.
Right.
They did the wrong deco on it or something, so I think the corrected deco may have been a little bit limited distribution. So kind of cool that is coming back out again.
Yeah. When I first saw that, I'm like, that again? But, like you say, third time's the charm, right? I guess better late than never that they get it right.
Well, a lot of fans, I think, agree with this too. I really kind of wish that they never did the Black Series at all for 3 3/4 inch, and they just kept going, because I think that was really what fans wanted. But I know Hasbro wanted it. If it sort of, this is like blasphemy, but it sort of outstayed its welcome, I think, for a few years. So it was good to change it up a little. But I'm glad it's back.
Absolutely. Not to mention the fact that the quality kind of dropped a little bit when they were doing those Black Series 3 3/4 figures.
Yes, and the cards were very strange, weren't they?
Yeah, very plain. I used to call it the bland series.
I remember, I forget what year it came out, but at Toy Fair they showed a couple of different designs that they were planning on doing, and then I said, and you stuck with this black and orange? Really? Because some of those other ones were way cooler.
Right, and I know that they were at the time also tinkering, I'm sure you know, with bringing back Legacy Collection with Build-A-Droid.
Yes.
And it's a shame that they didn't at least go that route.
Yeah, that they did the one wave, right? That came out in the R2D2 shaped card back.
Right.
But it was only available like as a set exclusively online or something. I have it, but it was still, that would have been cool to see. Build-A-Droids has always been fun, and clearly Disney agrees because they have a whole line based on that.
Sure. Complete with Jawa Sandcrawler now.
Right. Yes. Oh, that was another thing, too, because that came out. I mean, we knew about it. I feel like we've known about that for a while, but the pictures and the release came out right around New York Comic Con time. At least I remember it a few days before the show started. I was like, I want to get that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So tell me, did you back the barge?
I wanted to, but it's a bit out of my price range these days, so I did not.
Are you still going to be collecting, I imagine you will, Yak Face and...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, anything associated with the barge. Yeah, definitely. That's a really great looking figure.
That came out. I'm glad that Claytu Skiff Guard, that's another one from the old vintage days, so that's nice to see that getting an upgrade. And we knew about those coming out again because of the whole Back the Barge promotions that was going on, but the Leia Bausch was sort of a surprise because, good Lord, how many times can they release that figure?
Right. And it's the same as the Black Series figure, just with the updated face print tack, which, I mean, honestly, I just play that figure with the helmet on, so it doesn't really matter to me that it doesn't have, the face tech or not, but... I mean, I guess it's cool. It's not that expensive on the secondary market to pick it up these days, but, I guess I can complain it's an updated figure, I suppose.
Yeah. The display is a little strange to me because, I mean, the way they have it laid out, I think that could have been one bubble, not two separate ones on that card. The card looks very crowded.
Yeah. I think they were trying to capture the look of the vintage packaging, weren't they?
Was it like that?
It was.
Oh, see? I had forgotten that. Then that makes sense then.
Yeah. When I saw it, though, I'm not completely well versed with the vintage line. I didn't exist at the time those were in stores, but when I saw that the other day, I said, hey, that looks kind of funny. So I went and Googled the vintage card back, and lo and behold, that's how it was.
What do you know? That's good to know. See, I was not aware of that. So now when I get into arguments with my collecting friends, I can point that out to them.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they would have maybe done a little bit more with the Cantina. I know that the barge is kind of the big thing right now. It's totally understandable that that's what they want to focus on, but gosh, it's been so long since we had a Cantina Alien in the line.
Yes, I agree. What was the Mosep? Was that the last one back in Black Series?
Yeah, Mosep. That was 2015, I think.
Yeah, so that's due for a re-release. Let's bring that one back.
Oh, and a vintage card back would look awesome.
Because that was never done before, right?
No.
I kind of like, so we're seeing some of these other ones coming out. Like the Gamorrean Guard was another one that was released before, hugely popular. And I actually, somebody had asked me this a few weeks back. I actually found a wheelbarrow full of Gamorrean Guards and that wave at a Five Below.
Oh, wow.
Years ago. So I have a few Gamorrean Guards in my collection.
That's crazy.
Those are very, very popular. I mean, the 6-inch one is flying off the shelves at Target. Can't seem to keep that in stock. So getting this one back out there again really just makes a lot of sense. Plus, again, we're talking about the barge. He was on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to figure out how that's going to work in terms of it being an exclusive, because it's like I think a shared exclusive of some sort. And I don't know if that's going to be through like Entertainment Earth or Amazon or how they're going to handle that.
That's also kind of a weird thing to me, seeing all the exclusives that came out or that were announced with the schedule, because these should be available for all collectors.
Absolutely. And I'm just, I'm glad that Walmart isn't going to be carrying that Rey figure, or what's the other one that they had? Was it the Minbon Trooper? I believe they were going to carry. Yeah, so that's nice that at least for Rey, Entertainment Earth's going to get that. So Walmart, I doubt I would ever find it. So.
Well, speaking of the Walmart, I think we're pretty much like half of the past couple years were released at Walmart. Those are coming back on vintage or already out again. Mm-hmm. It's strange. It's like I know it's a little bit cheaper to produce it that way, but when the line is being launched with half of them are repacks, it doesn't bode well for longevity. Right. But I hope I'm wrong, and we'll see this line around for a few years anyway.
Absolutely.
I think the last time we talked, I speculated on this, and I've repeated it since a few times, but this line should be around for quite a while because there's no movie coming out to promote until next December, right? Mm-hmm. There's a TV show. That's a different audience, like I said before. So having a collector-focused line, the vintage collection, out now until next December, when you get back to movies again, makes a lot of sense. And I hope we really get a lot of good character selections.
Absolutely.
Speaking of new, the Luke Skywalker crate, that just, I think, made the show, really. If any figure come out, I'm like, that's one that everybody's been kind of jonesing for. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the legacy collection, whether it was the 2008 line or the 2009 line, I mean, that had a lot of great sculpts that fit in perfectly with the vintage collection, but it had just come out, so they're not going to package it in there. But now it's been 10 years. It's a good time to bring some of these back. I don't want to see all of them come back, but some of them coming back is definitely welcome.
Yeah, exactly. And especially for me, I feel like seeing like anything from the original film, like those Cantina aliens that have never been on vintage card backs, like Lisa Serlin or some of these aliens, they would look pretty awesome on vintage card backs.
Even if you think back 30th anniversary collection, I mean, that was the year before that had a lot of chances taken with Jabba Palace aliens, Cantina aliens. I mean, there was so much that was done. And just imagine some of those figures brought back on vintage collection card backs would be really nice.
It would, absolutely. So they also teased some of the new Black Series figures. I know that you're not all that into the 6-inch, but what were your thoughts on what they showed us?
I'm very selective of my 6-inch collection because I am a 3 3/4 inch purist, but I do appreciate some of the larger scale figures, especially if they're self-contained, so it's like a smaller subset. Like I have the Rogue One figures, and I can't imagine they're going to make too many more of them. Speaking of Five Below, some of those have been showing up at Five Below recently.
Oh wow!
Which is a $20 figure for $5. You can't go wrong.
That's pretty good.
General Grievous looks really cool. I don't know that I'm going to get him. I'm not a huge fan of the character. The Luke Skywalker and Stormtrooper outfit, I like that they changed it up a little bit. It was kind of surprising, like the day before we got the Han Solo news, and then the next day we got the Luke Skywalker news.
Right.
Like, wait a minute, what was it? The Rocket Trooper?
The Rocket Trooper.
I had to ask somebody, I'm like, is that from a video game? I didn't recognize it until I saw the presentation later on. I'm like, oh, that's from Rebels, of course.
Yeah, I didn't recognize it either.
But the one, I was very excited when I first saw him, Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Trooper armor. Very excited because I was a huge fan of the Tartakovsky Clone Wars series, which this figure is mostly based off of, except one small detail, and it's so minor that most people probably won't even care, but Obi-Wan had long hair during the Clone Wars.
Right. Yeah, you know what? I noticed that too.
This figure has the short hair like Revenge of the Sith. Got into a discussion with Jason from Yakface about this, and he says, well, Gentle Giant did the mini bust and the statue, and they were all the short hair. I said, yes, and Gentle Giant was wrong, because watch the damn show. You can see.
Right. Yeah, That aside, though, I mean, like you said, it's a gorgeous looking figure.
It really is. It really is. Yeah, I will still. This is one I definitely want to track down and get because my affinity for the character.
Absolutely. I'm just shocked that they're actually doing something from the Tartakovsky series because I never would have thought at this point in time they would go back that far.
Well, it's funny because it's sort of, even before Disney took over, they sort of started shying away from that series in favor of the 3D animated Clone Wars. And some of the character, well, I don't know if the same styles were used, but some of the characters were brought out. If you remember back in 2008, like I said, Legacy Collection came out with Builder Droids, and they included this figure as one of the initial offerings. So that was really cool.
They did.
We haven't seen any of those characters since because they've sort of been off limits for a while.
Right.
So,
yeah, and there was like the IG Lancer droid and the Quarren soldier and the Mon Calamari warrior, and that was a great wave.
Snow Bunny Padme, which everybody had to track that one down for sure. Yeah, I mean, when this was happening, I didn't know how it was going to be released. We just saw pictures, and I was like, oh my god, could you imagine if they made like a speeder bike in the style of that animated speeder bike with the lance and the helmet and everything? I mean, dare to dream. I'm sure some customizer will make that in a 6-inch scale, but that would be kind of fun if they were to do that.
Wouldn't it?
I don't think they will.
Or even Dirge.
Dirge. Oh my god. Well, that's a pipe dream. I think Dirge is persona non grata with many folks these days. But that particular segment in the show, if anybody watched the cartoon, if you haven't, please hunt it down. But if you watch that episode, that was just mind-blowing at the time. It's like, this is like Akira in Star Wars.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. I was taking like a mythology class. I was in my freshman year of college when that came out. And we were talking about the hero's journey, and so I decided to do something about the heroism with Obi-Wan's character, and I actually showed that clip to the class when Obi-Wan was fighting with Dirge on the speeder bike. So I have fond memories of that.
Nice. And then the other 3 figures, this didn't surprise me because I had read a rumor list about these before, but the last 3 figures, Dr. Aphra, Triple Zero, and BT-1, I think they look fantastic. I probably will want to track those down, but didn't we just get these same 3 figures in the 3 3/4-inch scale?
Yeah.
Are these characters that popular? I'm not sure, you know?
I don't know, but you know what? I know they're never going to do this, but I don't know that I would mind if they release the same figures in both scales at the same time.
Oh, no, I don't know. I've actually, on a very strange coincidence, been reading a lot of the Dr. Aphra comic books in the trade paperback form recently. Like, literally just the past couple weeks, I've been reading them.
Nice.
And then this news came out. I'm like, wow, this is a strange coincidence. The characters are a lot of fun. So I'm enjoying the comics. I can only imagine that, other people are as well. And while she did win the Fans' Choice poll, that was a 3 3/4-inch figure, which is hitting stores now. But those 3 figures came out, obviously, in the San Diego Comic-Con 3-pack, which it's just strange that they're doing all 3 of those together in both scales, but at the same time, like the fanboy inside of me is like, yes, that's so cool.
Totally. Now, did you get the 3 3/4-inch versions of those characters?
I do have that, yes. When it went online, I think it was mid-August, I was able to get a set.
Nice. I have it too. I haven't opened it yet.
No, neither have I. It's actually right behind me. I went to the store. You mentioned Cassie, and I saw him in stores today. I picked up the Range Trooper and the Tank Driver, and then a couple weeks ago I found Han Solo from Solo and Enfys Nest. So I'm only for right now, I'm collecting only the new characters on the vintage collection. It's way too many repacks of stuff I already have, and that's a lot of money to spend. So I'm trying to be a little bit more particular about what I'm buying these days. But I had to get those 2 new ones when I saw those because, like I said, new characters on vintage is really cool.
Absolutely.
And then strangely, they had the Luke Skywalker, which I did not get in the Walmart Black Box series. But somebody apparently really wanted it because they crushed the bubble and stole the figure out of it.
No.
I was like, well, maybe this is Ghost Luke.
Right. Force projection Luke.
Right.
Now, have you picked up the Walmart exclusive TIE Fighter or the Combat Assault Tank?
No, not yet. The TIE Fighter, I did see that in stores. Probably going to wait a little bit because I suspect the price is going to drop on that eventually. And the tank, though, I probably will want to get that as soon as I see it.
Nice. I haven't seen it in retail, actually. I've only seen it online.
Same here, yeah.
I just got the TIE Fighter, but I don't know when I'm going to get around to opening it up, but the box is gorgeous.
Right. It is. I think for future, there's a couple more conventions coming up between now and the end of the year, so we're still going to see some more reveals, which kind of blows my mind. Somebody had put together like a collage of all of the reveals for, the past year, basically, for what's coming up for next year. There's a lot.
There is.
There's a lot of just vintage collection figures, so that's awesome. But I wonder how many they're going to try to crank out per year compared to, previous years we've only gotten like 2 or 3 waves of figures. But now that like I said, there's no movies
right.
to this will be a good way to get back into the collectors, hopefully.
Totally. So before I let you go, I also want to ask you, they mentioned that there's going to be a wave, or they're going to be repacking the inaugural wave of the vintage collection from 2010, which is like the Hoth Leia, the Hoth Han Solo with the torch and the welding mask. What do you think about those particular repacks?
Some of those were pretty decent figures. That particular Hoth was a very strange... that particular Han Solo figure was a very strange one to me because, blink and you miss it, he's wearing that outfit. I think the Echo-based trooper from later on, that would be one that could definitely stand to be reissued because that's a very limited distribution at the time. But I don't know about that one. That just seems like kind of a wasted slot. Leia, absolutely. But I wonder why there's a big focus on Hoth. I would have expected more of a focus on, like we've been talking about, the Jabba's sail barge and those type of characters. Right.
Yeah, I mean, the aftermarket values on a lot of the skiff guards and Jabba's palace aliens are astronomical at the moment.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I would not be surprised if we saw a 3-pack or something, some type of multi-pack of Jabba's skiff guards that were released in previous lines. So if you remember, I think it was one of the Nikto guards came with like a laser cannon that clipped onto, nothing.
Uh-huh.
Well, you could now have something to clip it onto if you got the barge. But now you need some other skiff guards. So I could totally see them doing, if we're going to the 3-pack style, we've seen that with the San Diego Comic-Con Afra. But if you had that same type of packaging with repackaged characters with laser turrets, that I think would be a big seller.
Absolutely. I mean, I can totally see them doing some sort of a multi-pack or some way to get more of those figures back out there. Because, again, they're really expensive, a lot of them.
I would love it. And, Cantina Aliens, you mentioned it before. I'm a huge fan of that. Anytime that they want to come out with more of those, that would be great. There's still, a handful of them that haven't been done, so...
There's still a few that need to get done. Still waiting for my Tonica sister.
Yeah. Well, I think that we probably could now. That was off limits for a really long time, but I imagine that they could probably work the rights out, or whatever the issues were that were holding that up.
Yeah. Well, I guess time will tell, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, Dan, it's been a pleasure having you call in. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Anytime at all. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
That'll do it for this episode of the Cantina Chatter Podcast. Once again, I'd like to thank all of my callers. If you've enjoyed this episode, the simplest thing you can do for us is leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It's a simple gesture, but it really goes a long way in supporting the work that we do here. Additionally, Victoria's Cantina has a Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a Cantina patron, accessing exclusive YouTube videos and much more. I will place a link in the show notes for you to check out. Be sure to also follow Victoria's Cantina on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. As always, thank you for listening to the Cantina Chatter Podcast.